Hello, Ryan here, and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all of the news from the week just past. Be sure to subscribe if you like what you see, and let's get on with it. This week, we get the lowdown on some of the updates coming to Arena Commander in Alpha 320, plus CIG do a huge refactor of the ASOP vehicle request terminals. So before we begin, I would just like to talk about what is going on with Alpha 319.1. This build is still on the PTU, but it has just got a huge update to a system that affects every single one of us, and should hopefully fix an issue that many players are suffering from in the live persistent universe. Now, in the latest PTU patch for Alpha 319.1, there was a very significant refactor to the ASOP system, or the ship terminals, which is the terminal that players use to manage their fleet, requesting ships and claiming them on insurance. Now, this system has seen no end of issues recently, and has certainly been one of the more frustrating sides of the persistent universe at the moment. And with 319.1, CIG have done a technical refactor to the ASOP terminals, which is mostly under the hood, so you won't see anything visually exciting on the surface, but ultimately it should make the whole system work far better and no longer be a headache. Now, I will briefly run through some of the key changes, but I will link the 319.1 patch notes with these changes in the description below for those interested to take a look for themselves. Firstly, it says that the ship delivery time is now 0 by default. Now, I don't think this is referring to the insurance timers, rather the time after pressing request ship and it showing up. However, if it is to do with the insurance timers, this will likely only be applicable in the PTU, not the live build, as they do want to balance out the timers a little bit more. We will see. They have also fixed multiple buttons being displayed on top of each other, removed many ATC delays or air traffic controller delays, like location assignment and the static delay when calling the ATC. They've fixed the impounding fees that were not being applied, prevented multiple spawns in the ASOP so we don't accidentally spawn the same ship twice, causing the previous one to be impounded. They've sped up the fade when accessing the terminal, fixed the unknown state after a ship was stored while looking at the terminal, giving a claim button again, which is a good fix. They fixed the wrong selected ship index when moving the mouse after pressing the button, so basically whenever you think you're clicking on a ship to get it, it chooses a different one. That has been a pain for a while. They've adjusted the wording from transferring to storage to moving to storage, as it was one too many letters, causing it to split the UI, which is a nice visual benefit. They've added time remaining to the ASOP status column when a ship is being delivered, fixed multiple ship highlight selection when moving the cursor faster over the vehicle list, and they've fixed the red message showing up at random times, indicating an error, as well as fixing the unusable ASOP terminal bug. So those of you who are coming to terminals and they're not working, you can't get your ship, that should be fixed. Now, I am very happy to see that they have done this full refactor, as these terminals were creating more problems as time goes on, and it really needed something more significant than just bug fixing. So hopefully from 319 onwards, we will see little to no issues with the ASOP terminals, as they are essential to doing anything in the verse for everyone, and all of these changes here are greatly appreciated. Now, none of us have any idea when 319.1 is intended to drop, but reading these various patch notes, they are putting a lot of time and effort into fixing many of the current problems with the live build, including those dreaded 30Ks. So here's hoping that we are not waiting too long for the live release of 319.1, as I feel like it will just bring a lot more stability and structure to the current PU, making it a lot more fun. So this week's Inside Star Citizen was a part 1 episode, taking a look at some of the upcoming features, updates and improvements coming to Arena Commander in the Alpha 320 patch, which is slated to release around Q3. Now, the first episode is called Air, Space and Racing, with episode 2 titled Foot, Tonk and Testing airing next week. Now, for those of you who don't know, Arena Commander and Star Marine is a game within a game. In lore, these games were created by a company called Electronic Access, in the verse this is, and yes, EA for short was intentional, and eventually will be accessible via the SimPods that you can see on display in the Microtech flagship store, which you will be able to eventually place in your ship, in your hangar, or in your own home, allowing players, while in the persistent universe, to jump in whenever they feel like for quick gaming or practice without the repercussions of the persistent universe. Now it is also going to once again become a place for testing features quickly in a controlled environment to help further develop the persistent universe as well. And they say that as they get closer and closer to the death of a spaceman, it will become a vital part of our time as we can practice anything we want without the dangers of actually losing anything. And I will say, as this is a skill-based game, having things like Arena Commander and Star Marine will certainly be beneficial for honing those skills, aiding us in the verse. Now, since we last heard from this Arena Commander team, they have finally laid the foundations and brought Arena Commander up to the current standards, and now they are bringing in the content. So firstly, we have this new revamped and cleaned up front end, consolidating everything into one place, so both Arena Commander and Star Marine modes are in the same location. We don't have to jump from one section to another, which means we can just play any game mode we want, accessible from a single screen. Also, do notice the blurred out option. I do wonder what we will see there, hopefully on episode 2. They have also brought in 3D representations of everything like ships and characters. They have brought in the ability to read the latest patch notes, so we can see anything that has been fixed or that is new. Hopefully known issues as well, so we know what to avoid. And they are also working on widescreen support, which he did say they are hoping to get in for the 320 release, but it's just not a guarantee at this time. Now, this new lobby has the same party and friends UI and system from the Persistent universe, so unifying both the PU and Arena Commander to make it easier for players to work and use. And it is also much faster and reliable as well, which will be very handy. But one massive new addition to Arena Commander that I know many of us have really wanted for a while is the ability to somewhat multi-crew in the game. And as you can see here, with the new spawn screen, we are able to pick any free seat on board of a ship as a spawn location, be that a pilot seat or a turret gunner. Now, this is a great option, as before you would literally have to exit your ship, EVA over to your friend ship to get in. They did say that for this update you are going to be locked into the seat, so you won't be able to wander around inside, but in the future when other systems like engineering come on board, we will be able to, and they want that to be part of it so we can run around fixing up our ships. Now, in regards to new maps coming along for Racing, Arena Commander and Star Marine, for Racing, we have the new Horizon Speedway, which now has the track situated literally above an entire planet. They have brought the entire planet in because they are that performance friendly, but this has its own atmospherics, its own biomes like beaches, to better represent the official in-game location of Ellis. Now, it also means that this will be the first actual atmospheric racetrack which is utilizing, I believe, the current atmospheric effects like wind and drag in the Persistent universe, with them saying that they are still experimenting with wind and weather, but this will hopefully be a great location to test out the new weather systems as they come online and how they will affect ship flight, plus the new flight mechanics like control surfaces. As I say, I don't know if they're coming in for 320, I really hope so, but at this time we don't know. Now, these new Horizon racetracks have all had a revamp, with the inclusion of the fourth track being called Halloran Circuit, which is actually inspired by snowboarding with a giant halfpipe. They have added the tracks from the verse, including the Snake Pit, Miner's Lament, Yadar Valley, and Icebreaker, which I will say is quite nice. It gives players the ability to practice without the worry of blowing ourselves up and having to reclaim the ship every time. So when you get into the verse, you can then go in with the training in hand and hopefully set some crazy times. Now, for dogfighting, they have added the Jericho Station map from Xenothreat, which they say is very lightweight in terms of performance and getting the location into Arena Commander, as it is just a station with a few nebulas in the background. Now, personally, I was hoping for a little bit more in this map to make it more interesting, but I'm sure as a setting on its own, it'll be interesting, as it is free of debris, high performance, which I know many will appreciate. Another new map that they've brought in from the Persistent universe is Security Post Korea, which is for both FPS and flight, but in separate game modes, and this adds the challenge of dealing with the station's turrets as well, while fighting the other players or AI. Now, I would love to see Security Post Korea become a combination of flight and FPS in the same game mode, which I believe is their intention eventually, as it would be a great training ground for trying out landings and taking a station back from other groups, so hopefully they can bring that in somewhat soon, but for 320 I believe they are just separate game modes. Now these 2 PU locations are just the start of bringing in more Persistent Universe locations to Arena Commander and Star Marine, and personally I would love to see places like Ghost Hollow and Whistler's Crypt. They would be great for longer range engagements or forest fights, but the final dogfighting map is the New Horizon Arena, which is the first atmospheric dogfighting map. And this is a great addition for me personally, as dogfighting in atmosphere is a lot of fun, and will only become more interesting as the flight mechanics become more realistic. So very happy to see this new addition for 320, and I really hope that we do see the new flight mechanics come along for 320 as well. I know they are testing these right now, but there is no word as to when they will be ready. Now for Pirate Swarm, they are taking this mode to a new level, with the final boss level introducing a capital ship. And the premise is that you are in the middle of a battle between the UEE and the pirates, and as you get to the 10th wave, a pirate fleet will spawn in, which consists of 2 Hammerheads, 2 Cutlass Blacks, 6 Gladius, and a Pirate Idris capital ship, with the objective being initially to just survive for 2 minutes. And as these pirates come in, the UEE will counter initially with 2 F8 Lightnings, who are there to somewhat help you and inform you that a UEE fleet is incoming. And if you survive that 2 minutes, the fleet will enter consisting of 8 more F8 Lightnings, so that's 10 in total, 6 Gladius, and 2 Javelins to fight back. Now this sounds very epic, and I can't wait to jump in with the Org and get blasting away. Just watching this unfold, I think that is going to be something special. They also mentioned that this new update comes with a new Spectrum badge for Pirate Swarm, so if you complete it, you will get this badge. That means, he says, you have about a couple of weeks to get the old badge before that is switched out. So if you really want that legacy badge, get in there now, complete Pirate Swarm, get that badge, otherwise you will not get the chance to get it again. So they finally say they will be updating the leaderboards as soon as possible. They have updated the death cam and death recap, so viewing the action after you die, and it will also point out the enemy that killed you rather than just a random screen. For the scoreboards, you can now right-click on a player and mute them, you can add them to your party or send them a friend request. They have adjusted the scoring payouts based on who you take out, so if you kill a player with a very high rating like number 1 ranked in that game, you will get more points compared to a new fresh spawn who is, say, bottom of the leaderboard. Plus, if you leave early, then you will get a punishment, as well as many new fixes. Now next week, he says that they will be talking about FPS combat, new additions, plus the experimental modes, which I am very excited to hear about. So quite the mamma jammer of updates for Arena Commander and Star Marine, not to mention even more exciting updates to hear about next week. But I am actually becoming very excited to see what Arena Commander is like, especially as it means that I can jump in with my org in a more controlled, easier to get together, higher performance environment, practicing and training, and just having fun. Now these updates are actually really nice, and I can't wait to hear more about what is left to come. And I really hope, but doubt, we will hear more about Theatres of War. I'm hoping that with Gen 12 now implemented, it means the issues and problems that were really stopping them from wanting to release Theatres of War are now less of an issue and more plausible. We will see, but with that said, let us move on. So also this week, the roadmap was updated. I have covered all of the changes in a dedicated video, which I will link below. Also, I have now finally kicked off my Hardcore Zero to Hero series, in which I start without a functioning ship and must find a way to make the creds without one. I am very excited to get this series kicked off, so please do enjoy. Episode 1 is linked below, with Episode 2 coming sometime mid next week. So that brings us to the end of the show. If you do enjoy my content, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button. Also, I am able to do this thanks to my very generous patrons and channel members. If you appreciate what I do and would like to help make it even better from as little as $1 a month, all of the links are provided below.